Coming up on Newsnight, learn how police caught one of Allegheny County's most wanted fugitives.
Plus, a Pittsburgh landmark is now drying out. Find out why students were left with a soggy headache.
And we'll check in to see what the weather will be like for the week. All this and more on Newsnight. Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Allison Schubert alongside Megan Macioce. We begin tonight with news from Station Square. According to the Allegheny County Sheriff's Office, 41-year-old Mark Hewlin, one of their most wanted fugitives, was caught in Station Square on Monday night. After speeding while pulling away from a red light, sheriff's deputies stopped Hewlin, who proceeded to tell the officers that he was a trauma surgeon at Children's Hospital on his way to Allegheny General Hospital for another surgery. Police on the scene say that Hewlin had a stethoscope around his neck and a trauma surgeon identification card attached to his clothing at the time of the traffic stop. The officers then contacted Children's Hospital, who was unable to identify Hewlin as a trauma surgeon there. Once Hewlin was positively identified, the officers took him into custody. Hewlin was wanted for violating his probation after being convicted of a bank robbery in 2010. The incident occurred in 2003, in which Hewlin robbed a credit union while dressed as a woman. He is now held in the Allegheny County Jail.
What would you do if you saw water gushing down the hallway and stairwell? Well, listen to this. University of Pittsburgh students were in for a surprise Monday morning when the sprinkler system's main water pipe burst and sent water running throughout the halls. The pipe burst in the Cathedral of Learning, which houses many classrooms and other learning facilities. All classes on the first 3 floors were canceled for the day. Classrooms above the 3rd floor were advised to stay where they were or to take a stairwell that wasn't affected by the pipeline.
We've been enjoying a warm and humid stretch so far this September. To see what's ahead, we turn now to Tania Beattie with the weather. Tania?
Tomorrow there'll be a high of 85 with a low in the 60s. And as the week progresses, so will that heat with a high of 88 this weekend. But don't be fooled, it'll get chilly at night, so keep your jackets out. That's all for weather. Back to you at the desk.
Well, Megan, it looks pretty hot.
I know, right? I thought it was supposed to turn into fall pretty soon.
I know, I brought all my sweaters home, and now I need tank tops again.
I understand. When we return, wildfires are scorching the western United States. Find out what has doctors warning Californians.
And Georgia Tech police stop a student with a knife. The details next.
This and more on the other side of the break.
What would you do to create something that could survive 1,000 years? You'd start with a formula, head to the lab, and forge it with fire. Just imagine everything it could do. It could leak pollutants into the soil and water, or it could conserve energy, cut CO2 emissions, and reduce raw material. Recycling is more than cutting waste. Recycling is about the legacy you want to leave. Why on earth would you want to do anything else? Recycle. Don't throw away our chance at survival.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Krupp alongside Jess Paterchak. Tonight we begin with
The mayor is continuing to deal with the challenges the city is facing.
But tomorrow we have just a little bit of cloudiness.
off throughout the day with some strong wind gusts. That's going to continue tomorrow. 20
Teams have already started talking to free agents. Saturday is partly cloudy, but 70 degrees? Where is the pool at? I mean, come on.
You might have already burned your bracket, ripped it up.
I am Royce Jones.
And I'm Casey Houlihan.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight.
UView Television is live here at the Center for Media Innovation with a very exclusive interview with Point Park's Black Diamond, our school mascot. We're taking questions on our social media at UView Television.
Our first question came in from @PointParkU Black Diamond. They want to know, what is one thing you love about Point Park?
UView.
I knew it.
UView's the best.
It is. All right, Alex, you want to read our next question?
Okay, we have another question from Point Park Cab. They're asking, when is the next time you're going to make a surprise appearance at their next event?
He's being coy. Looks like we're going to have to show up.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see.
All right, that's all we have for right now, but you can submit your own questions at UView Television, and we might read one of yours after the break.
Welcome back. According to CNN, 21-year-old Scout Schultz was fatally shot in the heart on Georgia Tech's campus on Saturday night. The Georgia Tech police officers were responding to a 911 call claiming there was a person wielding weapons on campus. According to the Schultz family's attorney, L. Chris Stewart, Schultz was barefoot, disoriented, and in the middle of a mental breakdown when police arrived. A cell phone video shows the responding officers yelling at Schultz to put the knife down and telling him not to move. Schultz proceeded to take a few steps forward and the officers opened fire. Stewart claims that the officers were simply overreacting and that Schultz's life could have been spared. Schultz was the president of the Georgia Tech Pride Alliance and was known on campus as a leader in the LGBTQ community. CNN says that Georgia Tech President G.P. Peterson sent an email to the entire school community after the shooting to promise them, quote, opportunities for dialogue as well as additional resources as needed for healing, unquote.
Is that fog you see on your morning commute? No, that could be ash. The wildfires in California have been deadly on the ground and off. According to the New York Times, residents in Northern California reported, quote, the sky was blanketed with smoke and it was snowing ash, end quote. Local hospitals reported twice as many people have come to the ER this year with respiratory problems than last year's wildfire epidemic. The fires are so hot that they are pushing the smoke and ash into the higher wind system, which is causing problems for the East Coast. Due to the high pressure system that settled over the Great Plains, the ash-filled air has moved into Pennsylvania and New York. While there is no timetable for when the fires will be extinguished, health experts are advising citizens, if possible, to avoid breathing in the ash-filled air.
When we return, see how one Canadian town is honoring the United States Civil War.
Plus, what we're learning about the London train bombing.
And we'll have Zach Brandner in studio to bring us up to date on the latest sports news. We'll be right back.
I shouldn't have to pay to walk down the street. Pay with my comfort, my freedom, my peace. Always on guard, on edge, off limits. Don't follow me, don't touch me, don't treat me like I'm yours. I don't need your whistles, your comments, your eyes. I already know I'm a prize. My confidence isn't for sale. Respect me, don't inspect me.
And when people ask us who can join UView, the answer really is anybody, and we mean anybody. Any major, any experience level. Some people, have a lot of experience coming out of high school, and others don't know how to really sit on a couch properly, and that's okay. We're here just to give you the chance to learn and have fun and prepare yourself for the real world. College, after all, it's all about trying new things.
Welcome back. Another suspect has been arrested in connection with the London train bombing. According to CNN, on Saturday, officials arrested a 21-year-old man in West London and searched his home for evidence. The bombing took place during the morning rush hour in London's underground train system at Parsons Green Station. Over 30 people were injured, and the country was put on a critical threat level. Police arrested an 18-year-old man on Friday in the departure area of the Dover port after eyewitnesses said the man appeared to be suspicious. Officials are asking if anyone has any information in connection to the bombing to please call them. London officials have declared this a terrorist attack and heightened security this past weekend. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack, but the UK's Home Secretary, Amber Rudd, has said there is no evidence to validate that. On Sunday, the UK downgraded their critical terror level to a severe level. Additional officers are walking around the city as the country works to put this day behind them.
According to BBC News, a U.S. Civil War monument was unveiled in Cornwall, Ontario, Canada on Monday. The monument is dedicated to the 40,000 Canadians that fought in the war. A Civil War reenactment group called the Greys and Blues raised almost 44,000 Canadian dollars, or 36,000 US dollars, to build it. This is the first monument in Canada that recognizes those who fought and the nearly 7,000 Canadians that lost their lives during the Civil War. Historian John Boyko wrote in his book Blood and Daring, quote, "No one can fully understand Canada without appreciating that the war has an essential factor in the country's birth," unquote. Per BBC, Canada was still a British territory at the time of the Civil War and were officially neutral, so Canadians fought on both the Union and Confederate sides. In recent weeks, Confederate monuments in the U.S. have sparked debate, but those in favor of the Ontario Monument agree that they are only interested in preserving history.
We now turn to the world of sports. To help us sort it out, we have Zach Brandner in studio. Zach?
Thanks, Megan. 1 week after a depressing loss against their biggest rival, Penn State, the Pittsburgh Panthers took another devastating loss this weekend at home against another top 10 school, Oklahoma State. The game started going south for the Panthers as soon as it began, as the number 9 ranked team would eventually decimate the Panthers 51-21, making it the greatest loss for the Panthers since they have played at Heinz Field. Coach Pat Narduzzi said, quote, "That's about the worst day you can have in the office," end quote. Narduzzi went on to say, quote, "It's kind of like picking your poison when you defend the Cowboys, but it's tough to tell which poison the Panthers picked," end quote. Oklahoma received 423 yards passing and 93 rushing with 5 touchdowns in just the first half. Now, this Saturday, the Panthers will travel to Georgia, where they will face off against Georgia Tech. And after a surprising loss against the Baltimore Ravens in Game 1, the Giants' own Eli Manning and newcomer Evan Ingram received backlash and criticism from the coaches. Coach McAdoo said in a quote, "We are going to be open and honest. We don't have time to handle these things with kid gloves." Manning said, quote, "It's just part of a losing game," end quote. Manning also said in a quote, explaining that it's tough love, he said, quote, "You just have to be confident in what you're doing and understand what you need to do next time to come back even stronger," end quote. The Ravens will return to the field Sunday to take on the Jaguars. And all good things must come to an end. The Cleveland Indians dropped the ball on a record-setting 22-streak win last Friday night. Shortstop Francisco Linzer struck out with a tying run on first, the final out of a 4-3 loss to the Kansas City Royals in Cleveland. Lorenzo Cain's RBI single in the 6th seemed to be the winning run for the Chiefs, which rallied after the Indians took a 3-1 lead after 3 home runs in the 3rd. The Royals continued to dominate, scoring runs in the 4th and 5th. To tie the game against Cleveland, starter Trevor Boarkane came through in the 6th. The team now has a 91-57 record, which is currently the best record in the American League. And that's it for sports. Back to you guys at the desk.
You know, Megan, as a Pitt fan, it really hurts me.
As a Penn State fan, I was just really happy we beat Pitt. So if that's the only team we beat this whole year, I'm happy.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Megan Macioce, I'm Allison Schubert. Have a great night.